All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Welcome in. I'm confused. What don't people understand about free speech? It's so confusing to me why Democrats don't understand this. Okay. It is the protection of you not getting in prison, not going to jail for something that you say, unless you talk about you want to kill somebody, then, all bets are off. But if you just sit there and say, hey, you know what? I don't like Trump. You're not going to jail for that. If you sit there, you don't like a politician, you don't like a person, or even if you take it way over the top and say, I don't like this ethnic group or racial group or whatever, you're still not going to go to jail for that, again, because it's freedom of speech. It's your First Amendment right. But at the same time, if you represent a company, your freedom of speech does not mean that you are free from consequences. Okay? Again, free speech means that there's to protect you from being in prison, going to jail for what you're saying. Okay? We're not North Korea. But that doesn't mean that you can just willfully say whatever you want, and a company that hires you and employs you, they have a responsibility to make sure that if I am hiring you, if I employ you, that you say and do the right things because you represent me. And that is what the Democrats don't understand. That is what Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon, all these people don't understand. Okay, you represent the news organizations that hire you, so you just can't go on air and start making all these stupid claims about Charlie Kirk's murder, saying Tyler Robinson was a MAGA supporter and, he voted for Trump and he loved Trump and all this other stuff. And I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's comments was crazy. And I don't know where he got that, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're just going to get right into these comments.
Jeopardy. Good evening. And that breaking news here at 6 today, the future of the late night show Jimmy Kimmel Live is in jeopardy. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee. ABC is preempting the show indefinitely because of comments he made following the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us live from the newsroom. Conan, that announcement is sending shockwaves through Hollywood tonight.
It is, Colleen, and it deserves a little bit of a backstory. Prior to the news conference on Tuesday that delineated the evidence against the assassin, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk, there was a narrative over the weekend that perhaps this man, Tyler Robinson, was actually a supporter of President Donald Trump. In fact,
we know that not to be true whatsoever. Tyler Robinson was living with his transgender boyfriend, and we know for a fact after FBI investigation that Charlie Kirk was killed because Tyler Robinson believed that Charlie Kirk was against the gay and trans movement. And for all these Democrats to sit there and make up this stupid narrative that he was a Trump supporter is just absolutely crap.
There were those who believed he was part of the ultra right wing who considered Charlie Kirk to be too liberal, that he was too accommodating to political moderates and leftists. That turned out not to be the case. But in between that wording on the internet, and what happened on Tuesday with the announcement of the evidence, it appears that Jimmy Kimmel bought into what was being said online, and that led to the monologue that is in dispute on Monday night. The controversy stemmed from this joke during Monday night's monologue on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show taped on Hollywood Boulevard. It regarded not slain political activist Charlie Kirk, but Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old man accused in Kirk's murder.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. You can see how hard the president
everything we can to try to score political points when this guy literally just said he's one of us. Never. I don't know where he's getting his news from, but the fact of the matter is after the FBI investigates and police in Utah investigate and everybody says, okay, here's the conclusion. Tyler Robinson was living with his transgender boyfriend. Okay. He hated Donald Trump. He hated Charlie Kirk because he felt that Charlie Kirk was against the gay and trans movement, and that is why he was killed. For all that information to come out, and for Jimmy Kimmel to still say, nah, you know what? I don't believe that. He's a MAGA. He's a MAGA supporter. He voted for Donald Trump. It's just crap, and no wonder he's off the air.
The president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
The day following the monologue, prosecutors in Utah County, Utah indicated that the killer was not a supporter of President Donald Trump, but rather of the political left, and viewed Charlie Kirk as an enemy of the trans and gay movements. Today, the next star.
An enemy of the gay and trans movement. That is what it is. An enemy of the gay and trans movement. That is why Charlie Kirk was killed. You know, and right now, the left is so angry that Jimmy Kimmel got pulled off the air. Jimmy Kimmel, they're showing more anger of Jimmy Kimmel getting pulled off the air than Charlie Kirk being killed. They have every single Democrat, you know, from Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these Democrats have literally rushed to the TV screen to sit there and say free speech is under attack. Free speech is under attack. But yet Charlie Kirk was doing the same thing. A Christian man preaching about God, spreading the word of God, and telling everybody that man should be in charge of their family and taking care of their wife and taking care of their kids, you know, and leaning more conservative because conservatives have great values with religion and church and the economy and the military and taking care of Americans and putting America first. You know, these are conservative views, and that's what he preached. And he was killed for his views, and Democrats don't care, but yet they care. They more so are concerned with Jimmy Kimmel getting kicked off the air.
Our Media Corporation, which is in need of FCC approval for a $6.2 billion merger with the media company Tegna, issued a statement saying it strongly objected to Kimmel's comments and was going to replace the show with other programming in its ABC-affiliated markets. ABC Television announced it is suspending airing of the program indefinitely. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, on conservative commentator Benny Johnson's podcast, threatened to take action against ABC for Kimmel suggesting that Kirk's killer was a Trump supporter.
In what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick.
So we're going to get to more of these clips that we have later on in the show, but I want to sit there and say that the problem that the left has right now is that even when they are presented with factual evidence, okay, here's the facts, Democrats. He was a leftist political nut job. He hated Donald Trump. He hated Charlie Kirk. How can they spin it? I mean, you saw the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker. You saw what he said the day after, okay? The day after Charlie Kirk was killed. He says, you know, we really have to tone down the political violence. We have to stop. But, and here comes a but, he says, well, what about January 6th and Donald Trump pardoning the January 6th rioters? What the hell does January 6th have to do about Charlie Kirk? They can't take 24 hours and sit there and just say, hey, you know what? Charlie was a great guy. You know, we are sad about Erica and his kids. You know, those are the real victims right there. Erica and his kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old daughter that would never get to see their father again. And we're talking about January 6th. The Democrats have come to a new low, and we're going to show you right now.
Reeling this morning after the abrupt decision by ABC to pull the late night show Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely. It comes amid pressure from the Trump administration after the comedian's remarks on Monday about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie.
I just want to slip in this real quick about how he just lied. Look how quickly this guy just lied. Pressure from the Trump administration. Okay, the FCC came down and ABC came down. It wasn't at the Trump administration. The Trump administration has always been critical of Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon and all these people. They didn't care. It wasn't until he made a egregious comment about Charlie Kirk's killer and sit there and blatantly putting all this misinformation out there that as a MAGA supporter, when FBI have literally said he was a political nut job, left political nut job, he's still blaming MAGA. That's the reason why he's got in trouble, not because of political pressure from Trump.
Kirk. Here's some of what he said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
A representative for Kimmel did not respond to CNN's request for comment. A source close to the matter tells CNN the show is not being canceled, but there's also no timeline for its return. The chairman of the Federal Communications Commission said on a right-wing podcast that Kimmel's comments on Charlie Kirk's assassination were the sickest conduct possible.
and they have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
I want everybody to understand what he just said. Okay, when he means additional work, we are not going to just sit back idly and let you spew misinformation anymore. And that is what the FCC boss literally just said. If you hire this person and you are in charge of speaking to hundreds of thousands or millions of people, you better have your facts right. And once the FBI gives you all this factual evidence and says, this is the conclusion that we found, we've gone through all of his journals and all of his notes and talked to the family and talked to the friends and talked to the people that he went to school with, and we have found out our conclusion is that he was a left-wing nut job and he hated Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. You have all this information, and then you said, hey guys, you know what? After the FBI came to this conclusion, we now can report that this guy was leaning left. And even though he just sick, he could have said all these things, but he's still stuck to the guns. Why? Because Democrats have this narrative, because they're on the hook right now. Okay. They had an attempt with a Looney Tune that tried to kill Donald Trump. Another guy who tried to kill Charlie Kirk. The transgender shootings that are all over the country right now. They are all on the fence right now. And yet they took this opportunity to say, you know what? Yes, this guy's on the right. We can use this to our advantage. Yes, he voted for Donald Trump. Yes, thank God. And then once facts were presented to them, they still said, you know what, Jimmy, we need you to still keep running with it because it's going to make us look bad, because we said that he was a Trump supporter from day one. America is believing it. America is buying it. We need you to stick with the story. And Jimmy Kimmel said, sure, I'll stick with the story.
After the decision to pull Kimmel's show, President Trump and members of his administration taking to social media to celebrate it. A post from the White House said ABC is doing their viewers a favor, calling Kimmel a sick freak. The president later world is.
So I just want to say that, after everything that's going on in this country right now, and tensions are so hot on both sides, Charlie Kirk was such big shoes to fill. I cannot explain to you how much of a important figure this guy was. He was an amazing leader. I got in so much trouble for saying this. Oh, I didn't get in trouble, but I just had people making fun of me for saying, but I don't care less. Charlie Kirk was the MLK. Okay. Charlie Kirk was our MLK, 100%. Okay. Charlie Kirk lived his life as a good Christian man, went to college campuses because he felt like the youth were the most important people that can change our country, that can change the world. The youth, the college kids, the people that are getting taught these weird ideologies from these leftist professors. So he wanted to come in and say, hey, look, that's not right. This is what you should be learning. This is what you should be doing. You should be learning about the Constitution. You should be learning about all these things that can affect the country. You should be loving God. You should be taking care of one woman. You should be taking care of your kids. You're not a victim. Especially for the black people. You're not a victim. You're equal. You can do whatever you want in this country. And that's something that he literally pounced on. He told every single person that came to the mic, especially the black person that came up to the mic, and they felt like they were oppressed. And he said, why do you feel that you were oppressed? Well, because I can't make it. And he said, you're right here. You're on the college campus with everybody else. Of course you can make it. They got to get this ideology out of your mind that you can't make it. But this is what the Democrats want everybody to think, especially the black people. They want them to think that they're victims, because guess what? They know that 80% of the black people vote Democrat. Why do they vote Democrat? Because the Democrat people are in power want them to feel like they are owed something. That's why they dangle reparations above their head. That's why they say, hey, look, you can't make it in the country because white people are oppressing you. So you need to vote Democrat, because once Democrats are in power, we can then make sure you aren't oppressed. Henceforth, here comes DEI, which is another form of racism towards white people, because white people are very qualified. But yet when you have DEI and you have all these things that are saying, hey, look, we have a quota. We need 20 black people for this job. And the 20 white people that go for this job, they're going to get canceled because guess what? We need a quota of 20 black people, even though those white people that are applying for the job are way more qualified than the black people that are applying for the same job. Those white people that are qualified aren't going to get that job because we need DEI. And that is what Charlie Kirk was saying. We don't need DEI because we are all equal. Anybody in this country can do whatever you want. It's all about mentality, taking care of your family. And that's where it stems from. And that's why he went to college campuses and he emphasized taking care of your family and being with one woman and taking care of your kids, because you have such a head start if you come from a two-parent household, or even if you have two parents, if you have a mom and dad, not necessarily if they're together, which he still wanted the mom and dad to be together, but let's just say you don't have, they're divorced or whatever, which is terrible, it's sad, but at least I have a dad, at least I have a mom around. Instead of, certain statistics in the Black community that have a high single motherhood. I mean, the Black community right now, the Black single mom is the highest in the country. And that's a problem. And that's what Charlie Kirk was trying to say. But I think he was killed not only because of his gay and trans movement, just like this guy. He was trying to get the country united to sit there and say that if you are Black, if you are white, if you are Hispanic, if you are Asian or whatever, us as conservatives don't care about your skin color. We care about the quality of your character. And that goes against everything the Democrats stand for, because the Democrats want everybody to be victims. They want everybody, especially the Black people, to know that they can't make it in this country because certain people are going to go against you, and they're going to hold you down, and you're never going to get an opportunity in the capitalistic America. That's why we all need socialism. That's why we all need to take money away from billionaires and give it to you. You don't have to work for it. And that's the problem. Black mothers right now, single moms, depend on the government. There's so many people that are depending on the government. Instead of depending on a husband or a man to really help you with the household, they say, we don't need a man because the government is going to provide for me. And that's the problem. We have too many people dependent on government. But imagine if you were a young college kid and you are leaning left, and then Charlie Kirk comes on your campus and says, hey, you know what? You're not a victim. And this kid says, wait, hold on. What do you mean I'm not a victim? Well, you're smart. You can go to school. You're on college with everybody else. If you apply yourself, you can be whatever it is you want in this country, i.e. Barack Obama, the first Black president we've had. Wouldn't that tell all the people in America that America is not a racist country? If America was a racist country, why would they ever elect a Black president? There's not enough Black people in this world to elect somebody if all the other white people and Hispanics say no. So guess what? Barack Obama had millions of white people vote for him in 2008, and he won. So why are people still talking about being oppressed and slavery and reparations? It is a terrible argument, and that is what Charlie Kirk was trying to say. It's unfortunate that that happened, okay? But intergenerational reparations should never happen. No one deserves reparation. There's no Black person alive today in America that was a slave. And there's no white person alive today that was a slave owner. Mind you, 3,775 Black people were slave owners. And we know this by the 1830 census. So do they owe reparations, or is it just the white people? This is something that the Democrats will never tell you. Charlie Kirk was our hero. Charlie Kirk taught us so many things. He was a responsible role model, and I don't think there's ever going to be anybody that can replace Charlie Kirk. Right now, Ben Shapiro said he's going to go on these college campuses and he's going to, try to fill the void. And, I know they made Erica Kirk the CEO of Turning Point. They got a unanimous decision for that, which is amazing. I think Erica Kirk is going to be great for the party. I think she's amazing. I saw this clip when, she was getting interviewed with Charlie, and she literally says, I love you so much. Like the first thing, like they had such a relationship. And she says, you're my best friend. That is an amazing thing. And I feel so sad. I feel so sad for her that she's never going to have her best friend again. But yet the fact is that the Democrats are more mad about Jimmy Kimmel getting kicked off the air and say it's a violation of free speech than they are about Erica Kirk never seeing her husband again, or kids never seeing their father again. So I hope there will be somebody else that can step up and rise to the occasion, try to fill the void, try to fill the shoes that Charlie left behind, because it is a huge damage to our party. But at the same time, I think America saw people are getting taken out for their beliefs. I think this person, Tyler Robinson, made a lot of Charlie Kirks out there. I 100% do. because now we know that another leftist person who was involved with a transgender boyfriend killed Charlie Kirk because he felt he was against the gay and trans movement. When are we going to have these uncomfortable conversations and say, hey, look, maybe we need to do some type of mental health check before we just allow, transgenders to start having guns? Maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe they need to have a psychiatrist waiver or something like that. And if he wants to get a gun, then a psychiatrist can say, why do you want a gun? And if he signs off on that, and then let's just say hypothetically this transgender goes out and kills people, well, the person who signed off on that should be responsible as well. Why is it right now that we are having so many shootings, so many deaths by the hands of these transgenders? Something's got to be, and they need help. It's a mental illness. I feel like they need help, because if you're waking up right now and you're telling yourself that, you know what, my body feels like this, but my mind feels like that. I'm confused. I need help. I need hormones. I need testosterone. I need estrogen. I need all these things in my body, hormone blockers or whatever, to make me feel like I'm thinking right now. It's a mental illness. Unfortunately, that's what it is. And our greatest ally, Charlie Kirk, 100% would have been president. Okay? He's only 31 years old. He started Turning Point when he was like 18 or 19 years old. You're talking about doing something for 13 years. He would have 100% been the president of the United States. He would have had so much. I think Charlie Kirk, and let's just say he's 31, 35, he's able to become president. Let's just say, I think he probably would have had more support than Donald Trump, because everybody in the Republican Party liked Donald Trump. They were in the Republican Party when Donald Trump came out, they were 50-50. Not everybody was sold on Donald Trump. And then once everybody saw that people were leaning towards Donald Trump, then that's when everybody started getting on the Trump wagon and say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're all going to get behind Donald Trump. We're going to support him. But everybody in the conservative party loved Charlie Kirk. Every single person. And for them to sit there and say that Jimmy Kimmel got pulled off the air because of free speech, again, free speech protects you from being jailed or in prison or something like that. But it does not protect you from having consequences for the things that you say, especially when you are representing a company. When you are representing a company, you work for them. That means if they put you on air, they have to monitor what you say and how you say it and when you say it. That is a contract that you go up against. You just can't go on ABC and get hired by ABC and say, oh, I hate black people. You can't do that. Now, again, that's free speech. You're not going to go to jail, but you're damn sure not going to work for that company because you represent that company. And that is what the Jimmy Kimmel fallout is. You cannot go there after all this evidence has been presented to you and sit there and say, hey, look, this person is on the left. He hated Donald Trump. He hated Charlie Kirk. Here's your evidence, Jimmy. What are you going to do with it? And then you say, nah, you know what? He was a MAGA supporter and he voted for Donald Trump. Because now you represent ABC, and ABC is like, wait, hold on. This is not what's going on. We trust all of our journalists, all of our late night talk show hosts to say the right things, make jokes, have your fun. Obviously, Jimmy Kimmel's been on the air for 10, 15, 20 years making jokes about the right. So that's never been an issue. But once you're talking about the assassination of somebody, you better get your facts right. And if you're not sure, okay, if you're not sure if he was a left wing or right wing, then maybe not comment it. Just say, hey, look, until I get some more information on this, I'm not going to really make a comment. It's a tragedy, blah, blah, blah. But after all the FBI conclusive evidence said, you know what, he's on the left and he hated Donald Trump and he had a gay transgender boyfriend that he lived with, and the transgender boyfriend felt like he was being attacked. So Tyler Robinson killed him because he felt like Charlie Kirk was against the gay and trans movement. Once you have all that evidence, then you can't get there and sit there and say, oh, he's MAGA. So again, Charlie Kirk was an absolute hero. I mean, we can't sit there and say enough about this guy and what he's done for the movement. And again, so young, 31 years old, 2 kids, a loving wife, a beautiful family. I hope one day that somebody can stand up and fill in his shoes, because we need a leader, because at the end of the day, Trump is gone in a few years. He's still going to be outspoken, but we need another leader that we can get behind and we can say, yes, this guy is going to be our leader for the next 10 to 15 years. Charlie Kirk traveled with security. He had bodyguards at a toy store. I saw a video of him and his wife and daughter at a toy store picking out a toy for his daughter, and he had bodyguards. He knew the risk, and it's unfortunate, but he wasn't afraid to still go out and talk to college kids because he knew the youth. He knew that the young kids were the leader of the country and the leader and the future of our party. So RIP Charlie Kirk. You know, you will never be forgotten. And Jimmy Kimmel, you know, getting canceled is what is deserved after you sit there and lie about this transgender having boyfriend of a killer who killed him because he did not agree with the gay and trans movement. All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.